Right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Artist Talks with Mfaka, class of 2022. I'm going to begin sharing my screen. And I also just want to say my pronouns are they, them. So please remember that. And if not, just call me Vonne. All right. Here we go. So before I actually begin my presentation, I would like to share a piece of writing that was gifted to me by a close friend that I met in Houston when I was down there. And it pretty much was a guiding piece for me entering the Mfaka program, and just something that I refer to throughout, with all that occurred. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. I will not hang my true passions by thread to comply with someone else's vision of the world. I will not accept non-moving, non-risking, non-growing, non-trying, non-becoming, non-learning, non-opening as my complacency. I am capable. I am able. I am alive. I am encouraged. I am supported. I am loved, and I am love. So welcome. Thank you. Welcome to my gallery talk for my thesis, Site Excavation. It has definitely been a journey getting here, a very intense journey, and a journey that comes from a very vulnerable place. So as I proceed, I ask that you grant me grace and allow me to speak my my true story and all that comes with it. My art practice serves as a tool for healing. It is centered in honoring the Black, queer, and trans experience, collective wellness, and community-driven initiatives. Because I realize the impactful nature of art as an adult, I immerse myself in the deep waters of every medium. I am unashamed in my approach, and I have complete faith in the support of my ancestors while on this journey to wholeness. I embrace the ebb and flow of uncertainty and allow transformation to take the lead. Site excavation is a tangible representation of intense and intentional self-examination. It is the transition of death and rebirth, the witnessing of the unseen made visible, and the acknowledgement of a fortified support system that aids me on my spiritual path as a community artist and human. Hydrate. So my thesis pretty much touches on 3 points: vision, nature, and portals. Anyone in my cohort knows I always talk about nature, being on the land that is Lacey Oasis, and just really receiving its healing and grounding energies every time. So I'll just go down the line and really explain how it's connected to my thesis. For vision, going into the program, I really wanted to receive guidance for my art practice. I knew that I wanted to be with people, be of service in some kind of way. But in the way that I was doing it prior, it wasn't genuine to who I was as a person. And so I really wanted to refine that going in the program. For nature, I always just went out, again, like I was just saying, to receive any kind of word or healing from the trees, the birds, all the life that is out there. But more specifically at Lacey Oasis. And Lacey Oasis is a land, Piscataway land, that is about an hour from Baltimore, that I inherited, my sister and I inherited from our grandmother. And it's a recreational space. We have wellness retreats. We have family and friends that come out and celebrate life, and just be one with each other in that respect. And so for nature, I just went out there and observed it. I observed the diversity and see how it can be related to my actual life, my own life, amongst other humans, and just surrendering to its grounding and healing energy. As far as portals is concerned, during the whole process of coming up with my thesis, I really had to go into a deep meditation. And so I did a lot of introspection, a lot of reflection, a lot of just thinking and really tearing down layers and to truly understand myself. So it was somewhat of a spiritual ether, if you will. Prior to entering MICA, I founded this brand called The Regal People in 2014. And my vision for the Regal People was just to create a platform that centered empowerment and self-expression. And so that was done in DC, my home base. And then when I moved to Houston, it pretty much expanded from there. I met other artists, other people like me, people that helped me to see me for who I knew I was, but was afraid to actually live out loud. And so with the Regal People, I did a lot of clothing construction. In the end, it was for gender neutral bodies like my own. We did music and art-based events such as Data Dump with another awesome artist collabo, Input Output. And that's actually a picture down below on the left. Billy, he's part of that collab, and they do projection mapping. And we also did a lot of activism with the Regal People. We actually, when I went down to Houston, it was in the midst of Ferguson, the Ferguson riots. And so a lot of the work that we did was centered around that. And some of the imagery that came up from that landed on our clothing. So you'll see this image to the bottom right that depicts peaceful protesters using their voice, using their collective power to make change. And that's something that I really wanted to stick with because it's just something that I feel the need to do. I feel it is my purpose. So going back to the 3 points before nature, with nature, I also saw a lot of death. You know, you see dying trees when it comes wintertime. You see just things going in cycles, really. Death isn't so much a bad thing. It's like a chance of coming to an ending point, but soon after a new beginning. So the clips you see here are from a video that I shot at Lacey Oasis in 2018. That was right after I moved back from Houston to the Maryland area. And it was a very intense time for me. I think I was going through my Saturn return still. And those who know about that, it's a very intense time. You are breaking down layers that no longer serve you. And you're really creating a life that you know is best for you, to put it in plain terms. And so at the bottom, you see like, these are the things that pretty much died, you know, performative behaviors, thought patterns, outdated ideologies. And when I say performative behaviors, that was for the most part associated with my identity. As a musician, before even starting the Regal People, I would perform a lot in DC. I would have this persona, you know, just speaking the good word and, you know, just giving my vision out through the microphone and in parties. But it wasn't a way that I thought society, you know, thought I should act. It wasn't 100% me, basically. And so, you know, how it goes when you have to do away with things. It's not an easy task. You have to really think about it a lot, and things change in the process. People around you may not be around you anymore, or your environment just, you know, may get flipped around, but you just have to navigate it in a kind of present mode. You have to be in it every single day and just deal with it, but know that you are supported in the process. And that's pretty much what I felt. So for portals, you know, after the dying phase, I went into this deep meditation, as I was saying before, and that pretty much happened between those years you see up there. Oops. Oh, hold up. Let me go back to it. So in the portals, it pretty much consisted of radical solitude, doing research, doing a lot of reading about books of transmasculine identities, gender and sexuality. I was able to read stories about people that had similar experiences such as mine. Like, I don't identify as a man, I identify as transmasculine. And just by doing more research and seeing who else is out there that has the same kind of experience as I, really helped to kind of put things in perspective for me. I didn't feel so much alone as I did before. I felt like I was beginning to have a language to explain what I was going through and what I needed to heal from. There was a homecoming, again, to my gender and identity. I became more vocal, you know, about who I was and how my journey has been. And I used art to do just that. I always say art is my way to communicate, because sometimes speaking out loud, just, you know, in conversation isn't always the easiest. And so I used art to do that. And to the right, the far right, is actually a zine that I created in my risograph print class last semester. It's called The Misgendered Adventures of NB. And NB is a colloquial term that means non-binary. And those are prevalently used, excuse me, for individuals that identify as non-binary. And so the theme pretty much goes down the line of from 8 years old to 33, which the age is that I am, of just things that I experienced and things I felt internally that I did not have the confidence or courage to say out loud. I just said it in this scene. And so many people have seen it, and knowing that, it just feels like, okay, I'm being heard, I'm being held, you know, and I don't feel so, again, alone. And then experimentation and art making as ritual. So I'm still in the class this semester. I took a class called Collage and Sculptural Surface. And so I ended up learning new techniques and feeling a connection with my ancestors in the process. We did a lot of beading, we did paper sculptures, a lot of constructing from disparate elements pretty much that really pulled out something from myself that I didn't know existed, or I didn't have the lens to really see. And one of the things that stuck with me is beading. I kind of felt a really close connection to like sewing when it comes to either sewing garments. I knew my grandmother and my mother did it as well. And I know my great uncle, he had his own tobacco and cattle farm. So he sowed the seeds to help those things grow. And so I feel like when I made these things in his class, it was like I went into a zone of like just connecting with them in that way. So it wasn't just making art to show people, it was making art for my people. In nature, again, for rebirth. So we are here in 2022, and here I am feeling so whole. You know, I feel so much myself, and I have been supported along this whole journey that I'm able to be reborn, able to be out here and about and just living my life out loud. And going back to nature, again, mycelium, I don't know if many of you have heard about it, but mycelium is amazing. And mycelium is prevalent in dying things, like dying trees, or in the soil where a lot of life is being birthed that we don't always see. It's a very dark area, hence the spiritual ether, very Black place. And so in this space of rebirth, you know, I have a refined vision. I consider healing as activism, being able to show up as my true self and speak out loud who I am and what I stand for. Art making as ritual, making sure that when I do create art, it's coming from a very genuine place. It's not just for show, but it's for people that are coming after me too, that didn't have the representation in images or in literature. You know, they have it now. And again, that's my people, that's my community. And I'm also doing it for myself. It's very healing in that same sense. And also practicing with love and integrity, pretty much the same thing. As long as I'm leading with love, leading with a very genuine part of me, then I feel like I'm doing my practice right. I'm doing myself justice, and I'm doing the people around me that I'm doing art with justice as well. So now this is my site excavation, just a breakdown of my art installation, and all the things I just said before have led up to this particular point. So this is the piece that I'm so proud of. It sprouted, no pun intended, from my collage and sculptural course. It's a constructed form, and it's made of so many different important things. And there's a quote down below that I wish to share with you. There is such intense striving toward expression when hands are applied to the instrument. The hands themselves are turned into the communication of closely held feelings. And this is an excerpt from a reading that we had in the class by Warren Seelig, talking about constructive forms and making, and how it's such a very, it's an intense process, to say the least. And it's very related to someone's life, someone's existence, if you will. And so constructive form or site excavation consists of crochet, something that I picked up last fall. And it's not just weaves here, those are prayers. Those are things I've had to say to myself to keep going, you know, the faith that I have in my art practice and my people and myself. It's more than art. Those branches you see actually are foraged from Lacey Oasis. They're foraged from Baltimore. So a lot of the energy from both locations are within this piece right here. That beaded insect is actually an ancestral insect. I believe spirits are not just, they don't go away when someone dies. They're still all around us, and they show up in different ways, such as insects. And so I wanted to incorporate that as well in this piece, just to emphasize that here. Here's another shot of it. And also another powerful quote that really stood out to me and resonated with me. I'm gonna see if I can move this thing so I can read it. As artists, we seem to have an impulse to emulate aspects of our own body, reconstructing ourselves in our work and causing the work itself, because of its extreme physicality, to be experienced bodily. So to me, this reads, I'm putting my whole soul into it. I'm putting everything into it. I'm putting whatever I have in my vision, in my mind, out here in physical form. And so that when I do see it, I know, I feel it, that it's a part of me, and it's a very genuine piece of me. And here's just another view of those branches. I interlaced it with, I wrapped them with twine and paper, and the paint is actually infused with the soil from Lacy Oasis. So again, a lot of Lacy Oasis, a lot of energy, not just my energy from my sister and I, my grandmother being out there, but also Piscataway land energy. There's a lot of people, a lot of life that is breathing in this piece. And then down to the far right is handmade paper that I made at my fellowship at Keswick's Wise and Well Center for Adult Learners. I infused some of the plants there at Lacy Oasis into the paper. So again, all of it is very intertwined in this piece. And I really wanted to bring it to my thesis and bring it to Micah and just continue to share all of this healing with everyone around me that continues to help me heal in the process. This is another piece of my thesis. It's called Not Just Monsteras. And it's a Rizzo print zine that I created over the winter, really. And this is a piece that where back to when I did the research and, the readings of the identities, it gave me the inclination to do some more of that. Last year in the program, we did oral narratives where we interviewed folks from the Baltimore area and got to hear their story about a specific topic. And it just stuck out to me, being able to hear someone's voice and also hear their stories, either written down, transcribed, or just being able to listen. And so I just wanted to do that for the LGBTQ community, because personally speaking, we've been written out of history for far too long. And I wanted to be a part of that process to continue to document our lives, to continue to document our voices and our existence. And so this is how this came up. And so the zine features about 11 people, which I think is a magical number, from Baltimore. Some are Micah faculty, students, some are just born and raised in Baltimore, who are also artists as well. And their stories, man, it was a powerful experience. The way that we exchanged our experiences and the way they overlapped, it moved me, and it continues to move me to this day. And this project is actually available online on my website. The link is right there. And I currently have excerpts from them responding to the question, what does healing look like to you? And actually I have an audio here for you to also listen to in a second, but I just want to talk a little bit more about it first. So the zine is comprised of transcribed interviews where I ask these individuals their name, their gender and identity, or their relationship with it, their relationship with Baltimore, because it's also rooted in Baltimore, and their, again, what does healing look like to them? So with these people, I also pair them with medicinal plants that grow in and around Baltimore. And I did that because, just as Kenny was speaking earlier, there's a lot of discrepancy in the way that resources show up in certain areas of Baltimore. And so I just want to be a little bit of help when it comes to finding those healing pieces that are still there, that are still here, in Baltimore. So it has like mullein, my brain, I just had a brain fart. Bergamot. Okay, there we go. But anyways, it's going to be all online, and I can't wait for you all to read it and see it. But yes, I want you all to hear the audio, just a few minutes of it. And yeah.
Healing is messy as fuck. Healing is like the most stripped back parts of yourself that are now being able to scab, and you take the steps to like healing yourself, or like giving your body opportunities for itself to heal. And I think about that on an emotional level Physically, that's a whole different other thing. We talk about plants, right? Being able to bloom and like being able to like, I don't know, be free, have pollen and let that shit spread. I think a question I asked myself was, why do I not feel good in my body? Why do I feel like I just feel wrong in this body? Or my mind, it just doesn't feel right. And then I asked myself, I'm like, okay, so where does this tension lie?
I have a really difficult relationship with healing. I have a health disability that um, I'm ill, and so it's not going to go away. So I've had to grapple with knowing that there isn't a cure, like knowing that there's not just going to be the switch that goes on. Um, so healing looks, and for me, I feel like it looks like making peace with the things that I cannot control, holding space for like the light and the dark of it, and knowing that it's okay regardless of like how it plays out. But if I can find joy in this body and however ways I can, like that could be healing.
I'm healing right now. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm in the midst of it. Major transformation and up leveling is taking place in my soul life. That is enabling many great and funny and fascinating things to take place in my external life. So to put it plainly, I'm healing. I'll tell you what I'm healing from, and I think that'll make sense around what it is. I'm healing from years and years of lies and falsehoods and illusions that I did not create, right? Some of which I did because, soul journeys, reincarnate, you learn from the past, all of that. But again, that's a longer conversation. So currently, I am healing from, in this life, there's a lot of alcoholism and addiction that runs in my family on both sides. So that was the main sort of cord of everything else. Because once you deal with that, then you deal with all of the stuff that you were drinking and using about.
Whew. So again, you can listen to more of that, or the entire clip, I should say, on our website, or it's right here in Micah. If your backs and can have a negative test, you can check it out, maybe. But in the meantime, it is on my website. So I really hope you all get a chance to listen to their stories and read like how things have been for them, because I feel like the more we listen to each other, the more we can understand each other and work together. So I'm not gonna ramble. My next piece is Altar to Love, Community and Art. I made this in 2021, and I forget which class, but it was around making altars. And also just have an altar for my ancestors in my home. But I wanted to make one for love, community, and art, just to remember why I have this vision for my art practice and what it is grounded in. In the back of this piece, I have love represented by a baby's bed. Babies are born with love. They're born with a sense of love until the world shows them otherwise. To the left of that is a hoodie, which is like a symbol for community or for people. And then to the right is, you're looking at the back of it, but it's like a, what is it? It's kind of like a cradle or a shelf for an art piece. And so like a section, something to be revered, basically. And so this is the altar I made for that. And on the altar, I sprinkled crushed charred wood, from campfires that we would have at Lacey Oasis. So a lot of energy here, again, from Lacey Oasis, from when we would have our get-togethers, our retreats, our coming together of love and endearment, and just really putting that into this installation for folks to feel that. And again, you have the beaded ancestral insect to the right of that, because my ancestors are always near, and I know that for sure. All right, this piece is Gemini's Introspection, a piece that I started last summer, which actually grew from a monoprint that I made in fall of 2020, so the year that I came into the program. And I don't know which piece we were reading, but this was titled Hip Hop #2, so it must have been about hip hop. But the piece that the monoprint I came up with says, where are we going deeper? And at this point, I just knew, I felt like, okay, we're about to learn more information. We're about to do more research and learn more about ourselves and about Baltimore and all this and all that. And, you know, in my mind, I'm ready for it. I don't know where we're going with it. I don't know how I'll be changed in the process, but I'm ready for it. And I want to go deeper wherever those depths go. And so that kind of moment translated into this painting last summer before going into our thesis year. And Gemini comes from my moon sign, which is Gemini. I'm very attracted to abstract ideas and ideologies and people and so many different things. And sometimes at a distance, I don't always, like I like to make connections to it, but I don't always connect myself to it enough to really understand why I'm even interested in it. And so this is pretty much the visualization of what I felt when I had to really fine tune my vision and for my art practice and figure out where I'm going with it and how I'm showing up in it. So all the entities you see, the two people, those are the Gemini twins. That's an actual eyeball looking up and they're digging into it because, you know, the eyes are your portals to your soul. So yeah, you know, I have to look deep with them for that. And then the person running towards it is actually, it came from an image that I took of a picture I took of a kid running out of a school. I think it was like 2018, maybe 2019. He was just looking so ready for the world and so, you know, ready to be released and liberated in some form or shape, shape or fashion. And so I felt that, you know, the same. So all of this is pretty much that in a nutshell, me going deeper into this, this meditation, this introspection, and ready to be transformed in some kind of way. And this big wish piece is actually the starting point of all the previous pieces. I made this in 2018, and it stemmed from nature. So basically, Big Wish is a rendering of a mature dandelion flower, so or plant. When I was growing up and I would see these white puffballs in the fields or in the cracks of cement sidewalks, I would pick them up and blow them. And I was told, you know, when you blow them, you got to make a wish. So I didn't think anything of it. I still made my wish, but I didn't really know what it meant. And then I did a little bit more research and I found out that the little white filaments that blow out are actually seeds. And so when you're making this wish, speaking metaphysically, you know, you're releasing all these seeds out into the open to be planted from your vision. And so I kind of consider that with my art practice. Like I have this vision that I'm now refining, that I'm sharing with others. And so in a way, I'm nurturing it in the way that it needs to be nurtured in order for it to come to fruition in the most authentic and loving way. And so this is an ode to that, as well as I feel like it's very totem-like or very ancestral-like. So I feel like it also has that resonance. And this is, it was a graphic print, and I actually put it on a chiffon tapestry because I would like for it to hang up somewhere. But yeah, this is where it all started. Big wish. My big wish was to find direction with my art practice, and here I am wanting to do more research into gender and sexual identities and how it shows up in the ways that we need to heal and be with each other on this one ball of dirt called Earth. So yes, everyone, that's it. Thank you. I do want to go down the list though before I exit out. I want to thank so many people. I want to thank my high school teacher, Mr. Silky, who couldn't be with us here today, but he was the one that sat me down after following me or my career of doing music and art-based events. And he sat me down one day, he was like, okay, so you're doing this and that, where are you going with it? What are you doing with it? You know? And it made me think some more about, well, okay, well, I like to be of service to people. I like to do art and music, you know? And so it just kind of, that was a seed that was planted for me to be here right now. I'd like to thank Ken Kravchuk, because when I came to the open house, I was going towards Masters of Art and Teaching. But then I learned more about community arts. I didn't even know about it at first. And I think I looked on the website, but then I saw him and he told me they were about to go on a tour of the campus and do some other things. But basically, by bringing me in that instance, I'm very happy that you did that, Ken. I just want to say that. I want to thank Paula for continuing to advocate for the program and guide us and mentor me. And man, Paula, you really have instilled in me so much confidence and so much love and just so much of what I want to give back to others. Oh, I'm getting emotional, y'all. I'm sorry. My cohort, y'all brought my emotion out the first year. I remember crying in front of y'all because this was just so important to me. And I couldn't wait to share this experience with you all. The Baltimore community for welcoming me and guiding me and supporting me and still making me feel like home here. My faculty who continue to uplift me and challenge my vision and help me to evolve. My installation evolved so many times throughout the semester, y'all don't even know. My biological family, my mom, my sister, my dad, my brother, everyone that continues to support me and who I am as I continue to grow and become my own person. My chosen family who continue to look out for me and share their experiences with me so that we can both heal together and not just be wounded sitting around. And of course, Mother Earth. Mother Earth is the biggest teacher of all. And she just shows me that, you know, even though times may not feel right now, it's temporary. Things are changing, things are shifting. You're building new muscle in this process, and you are continuing to be reborn each and every day. So I'm gonna leave it there.